What are the differences between first to two and first to three sets? And, is there one that's preferable to the other? This is how I want to lead off with this one, bro. I think that first to two sets are looked at the completely the wrong way. And this is how people look at it. First to two is so quick, and Street Fighter V is extremely volatile. There's so much damage. The stun builds up quickly and doesn't go down that fast. So a round can be over in the blink of an eye, it feels like, at least. Whereas in the first to three, it's believed that the better player is going to win a lot more often because there's so much more time to adapt, right? Now, this is my thing. I started doing a whole lot better in tournament when I started viewing first to two as like first to 4 rounds. You know what I mean? Like someone has to beat me for 4 straight rounds. If I want to, right? As far as like getting a download of my opponent's stuff, I remember there's an interview on Daigo that Chris T did back when Chris T was on Team Beast. And Daigo said that at the beginning of a tournament, or at the beginning of a round, if he's playing against someone and he doesn't know their tendencies and stuff, he plays extremely conservative in the first round so that he can try to get a download. And then he trusts that download to make whatever reads he makes for the rest of the set, making micro adjustments from that point forward. But people treat it as if you need a whole game to adapt or something like that. And in all honesty, that's not the truth. In the end of the day, right now, the better you get, the faster your download time is going to be. You're mentally shackling yourself by thinking that first to two is not enough time when in all actuality it is. The only thing I would give credence to, which of course first to three is still going to be more consistent, but I think the difference there is more marginal than people believe it to be. The one thing I would say is online versus offline, which that's another topic. I will say that there is rollback and things of that nature online, right? So first to three gives you a less of a chance to kind of get screwed over by rollback. But as far as actual regular gameplay, I think first to two is fine.
But would you prefer first to three?
I would prefer first to three as far as like my chances, I suppose. But as a competitor overall, as far as my experience, I would not want tournaments to take longer because of first to three.
Right. I feel like this is a question of, from a competitor's perspective, you're doing everything it takes to excel at the format presented with you. But if you had your choice, I feel like that's where like the truth lies a little bit. If you had your choice and there was no other constraints around logistics, you want first to three, right?
Okay,
you prefer that.
Yeah.
Right. So I definitely see what you're saying. At the end of the day, you need to, as a competitor, excel at the format that is given to you. You don't have a choice in that, right? So if there's first to two, you need to have your strategy for first to two. If it's first to three, you have your strategy for that, and you do what you got to do given the rule set. But that said, I think there's a whole world of difference, not in how the results play out necessarily, because we see some data on this. I just want to give a quick shout out to the Game 2K, who does a lot of stat and number crunching. Like, he has one of the most thorough databases on FGC stats that exists, bar none. And I remember he crunched some of these numbers on people's performance in first to two versus first to three, and he found like the difference in the win rates between the same players was like next to none, almost. Like there was like barely any statistical difference.
You mean from first to two to first to three?
Yeah, like players who played each other in first to two versus first to three, like no one.
It was the same results no matter what.
Right.
That's what I would expect, bro. Results. That's what I would expect.
Right. And I think that's true. But what I think is missing from that is the mentality behind it. And also what he looked at was like people who were down 1-2 and then won, like down 0-2, down 1-2, and then won the first to three. He found that number was like 8%, like below like single digit percentage. Like if you're down 1-2 in the set, you are losing that set.
Generally speaking.
Right. But I felt like, to me, I feel like that 8%, that 9%, that makes a difference. And not only that, the mindset that lets you get to that situation in the first place is totally different, right? First to two, you're stressed. You're stressed out of your mind. I mean, the stress levels are higher. I don't know if you feel the same way. I feel way more stressed in a first to two situation than a first to three. I mean, I think a lot of players fear that way. Yeah.
But see, you know what happens? And this is a haymaker right here, Brian, okay? There's a shift in mentality that occurs, and this is one of the things that separates somebody with experience versus someone who doesn't have experience, or someone who has the it factor versus someone who doesn't. Some people are scared of winning. Some people are scared of that final moment. So whether it's a first to 2, first to 3, that moment is going to come up no matter what it is. And that's why we see those same results. When it comes down to the clutch situation, even if it's very close, I am 99% sure, I'll really say like 80, 85% sure that the player that's more seasoned, the better player that usually gets the better results, is going to win, even though it looks like they both have no health left. And we've all noticed that, right? Like, would you agree that that's a thing?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely been in those situations plenty of times in my own tournament runs where I'm on the losing end of it in the first to 2, and then somehow I win. And, you know, it's against players who maybe wouldn't be considered to have the same results that I have or something like that. I've definitely won so many tournament matches where I'm losing the entire time, then somehow I win. Even this past weekend, I looked back at one of my sets, I didn't even realize I had lost 3 rounds straight and then won the next 4. Right, like that. Those moments happen, and I don't. Sometimes it doesn't even register in my head. Like, I'm not even aware of how close I was to defeat because I'm just like playing one round at a time.
But while you're just playing like that, they are, hyperventilating pretty much, bro. And that's so. In that moment is so key to who wins and loses the set. And no matter how long the set is, that moment is gonna arise.
Yeah, but there's also the other side of it too. I feel like there's also like the early stages where you're like, oh crap, I lost this round. I have so few rounds to adapt and to grow from this, or to figure out my opponent, and they're mad random and I don't know what's going on yet. Like those situations also arise. And I think the question is also, people are saying, like, in the online era, do we still have to do first to 2? Is that really what we want? Because I personally feel like a lot of the online events, they could potentially consider that idea, because I think a lot of times we don't have the same constraints in offline. Offline, I totally get why it's first to 2. Offline, like, there's too many people, there's not enough setups. It would take forever to get 500 people in and out the door and whittle it down to a first place, right? It would just take too long. But in online, we're all on our own systems. We're not sharing resources here, right? Like, there's actually an argument to be made that maybe we can consider other formats, because we do first to 3 and top 8. That takes forever because every match is on stream, right? But the rest of the bracket, it's everyone running simultaneously, whittling it down to the final top 8. So a lot of people are saying, hey, isn't it time maybe we thought of first to 3? And I know a lot of people get salty about this because this argument comes up for every game. Every couple of years or months, people talk about it. But I feel like the online era makes a good argument. Like, what do you think? Is that something we should consider?
Bro, an argument, you said an argument can be made. An argument can be made that, like, Kix is better than Frosted Flakes, bro. That doesn't mean that it's a good argument that you should actually bring up. And so you're wrong, and here's why, Brian. In the end of the day, we have to wait how long in these online tournaments already, bro? Like, I'm talking about even in tournaments that are run pretty well, a lot of times you might be sitting there for a good, I don't know, am I exaggerating to say 4 hours? Or, you know what I mean? Or even longer sometimes, I would say. Tournaments last an extremely long time already, and a lot of us, we got stuff to do. And here's the big difference too when it comes to online versus offline. Maybe I'll give you that when it comes to something like the Intel World Open, when it comes to something like Capcom Cup, where there's something that's so big on the line. But I'm not trying to put in 10 hours of grinding online for a couple $100.
But do you feel like you're sacrificing competitive integrity just for convenience? Give me the truth.
I don't think 8% of a difference as the game 2K.
Okay, but you think it's a little bit of a fluctuation in the results.
I would say this: if that difference was like a 25%, then I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah.
I think there would be bigger problems if we saw that much of a difference.
Where you bring up, Brian, like the fact that, like, okay, we talk a lot about mindset, because all this stuff is mental at the end of the day, right? Like, Taquito, when he plays, and we know the famous tape measure, right? We've been at majors and we've seen Taquito running extremely fast in place and things of that nature, getting his heart rate up to a certain point, XYZ. He's doing all of that so that he can try to get into a flow state and try to be in the same, he wants to try to replicate the same position, the same mindset, so on and so forth, so that he can be as even keeled and as consistent as possible. So in the end of the day, as long as that's your focus and as long as you master that or are working toward mastery of that, then how long the set isn't really going to matter as much. Outside of course, if it was like a first to 1 or something like that, you know. And another thing about first 2 that we have to remember is these tournaments, this also matters to me, Brian, are double elimination. If it was single
got more
elimination,
chances.
I think people would have more of a You have to lose 2 whole games to someone, bro. All of those rounds, you gotta lose 4 whole rounds to someone, and you have to lose 4 rounds to someone else on the loser side. If you lose, it's on you.
Yeah, that's true. But you should also see the stats for winning a tournament through losers. That's like non-existent. So no matter which way you slice it, there is a ton of pressure to win now and win immediate. Winning through winners is you almost have to do that if you want to win a tournament. Those numbers for winning through losers are, I was shocked to see that.
Now, when you say winning through losers, do you mean even if someone made it to winners finals?
No, going to top 8 and then in loser side, making it to top 8 on loser side, you're almost guaranteed every time.
Okay, well, yeah, that's rough.
Right.
That's rough.
So I'm saying there's a lot of pressure in that first of 2, and I think that's what players stress about. But at the end of the day, you are absolutely correct. It's up to us to adapt to the format and win, and I think everyone gets that, but they just want to vent on Twitter a little bit. You know?
It's understandable.
When you're about to lose to that player where you feel like you're about to be upset, and it's some like off the wall strategy where like you should be containing it, and you kind of slip up a little bit up first, and then you get your bearings in order and close it at the end. That is a heart attack in the making.
But Brian, to be fair, bro, I think that this whole topic started up when Street Fighter V was in a much more volatile place. I think this topic
has been going on since 1999, dude. This topic is as old as time.
I would say it was more valid. I think it was more pressing, not valid, because it's just as valid now.
More needed,
but it was more
then.
Pressing. But yes, there is a difference in first to 2 versus first to 3.